Hello everyone. We have been discussing history of English literature for the benefit of students, those who are preparing for UGC, JRF, UGC NET, as well as state eligibility test of various states. And for the students of those who are preparing for PG program, a common entrance test, as well as research common entrance test of different universities, different states. So we have been discussing history of English literature period by period. Today we are going to discuss one of the major or important period from the history of English literature is Victorian period. We know this classification has having different perspectives. It may be depends upon historian. So some periods we discussed according to the writer, some periods we discussed about the according to the ruler of that particular period, some periods we discussed about the particular author of that particular time. So today we are going to discuss about the Victorian period because she is also one of the ruler of England. So this particular period starts from 1832 to 1901. Even though Victoria came into the power 1837, but the features of Victorian literature started before her rule. The age named, this particular age named Queen Victoria, who reigned over England from 1837 to 1901. We discussed about, you might be noticed that this particular, that Queen Victoria came to power in 1837 as we discussed. So the period began in 1832 itself, 5 years before the accession of Queen Victoria. Because the literary features of the new age became obvious during the 1832. The 12 years from 1840 to 1860 of this age is called age of Pre-Raphaelite. What it is? Because the artists of this particular period followed the art forms used before the period of Raphael. Who is Raphael? Raphael is an Italian artist. Who are the members? D.G. Rossetti, W.H. Hunt, J. Millians formed this particular group, the group known as Age of Raphaelite. Later, Cristiano Rossetti, W. Morse, A. Swinburne joined along with them. Originally, it was a movement for the painters, but eventually these ideas took place and shape of the literary movement. Medievalism, symbolism, sensuousness, truthfulness and simplicity are the main features of Pre-Raphaelites. So this is the first part of Victorian period related to the 12 years related to the Pre-Raphaelite movement. So second part from the Victorian period is the last 2 decades known as Age of Aestheticism. Age of Aestheticism in reaction against the Victorian moral obsession. It was held that art should have its end in itself. Art should have its end in itself, which lies in the beauty of and formal perfection. These decades also called decadence. You know decadence because there was a fall and decay of the Victorian spirit understood in these years. So the decadence is another part, is also known as Age of Aestheticism from Victorian period. The first part of Victorian period is known as Age of the Pre-Raphaelite. Age Pre-Raphaelite contains around 12 years. So in this particular period, in this particular Victorian period, there are different important factors which influence the literature of this period. What are the factors we have to understand? As we know, the first Reformation Act came into the existence 1832, the second Reformation Act 1867 and the third Reformation Act 1884. So what this has given, this Reformation Act, the third Reformation has given writing words to every man and brought about significant changes in the social life. So this voting rights has brought a lot of changes in the ideas of human beings of the society. And at the same time, Another important historical factor from this period is 1833. 1833, the age is known for slaves were declared to be free. Say slaves were declared to be free. And at the same time, this particular age has another important factor, that is particularly 1840 is known as Chimney Sweepers Act. At the same time, Factory Act in 1833. So what has brought this Factories Act? It has prohibited the child labor. That is also another important factor from this period. At the same time, mechanism of railways, ships were improved, which helped to develop overseas commerce and industry, and thus brought material affluence with other parts of the world that we have identified during this period, particularly Victorian period. There was a significant progress women, particularly this particular period. We know that agriculture based society was disintegrated as a result of the development of industry. This had a strong effect on the rural people. So this is also another factor in this period. At the same time, theory of evolution. We know theory of evolution also came particularly in this period along with the concept of communism. So both together, theory of evolution and concept of communism changed the traditional views of life and religion. So this factor also helped the writers to produce literature. So there are all, and at the same time, we know that Fabian Society was also founded 1883. For what? Fabian Society was founded to avoid the violence in class struggles. There are many number of writers are also part of this particular society. G.B. Shaw was also one of the member of this particular society. So these are all factors. These are all factors helped the writers to produce excellent literary pieces. So who were the writers and what were their major contribution? So now we are going to discuss a few important writers from this particular period. As we know, we have been discussing about Macaulay. Who is Macaulay? He is the man responsible for to introduce English education in India. He is the first person we have to identify. So he wrote History of England, particularly in this period. And at the same time, another important writer, Cadiel Luhmann. So he has written The Idea of University. The book is known as The Idea of University. Another book is Loss and Gain, is also from this particular period. We have another important writer, almost he is known as a philosopher, J.S. Mill. The popular work is On Liberty, Utilitarianism, The Subjection of Women. These three important works are written by J.S. Mill. We have popular writer who influenced the entire world is none other than Charles Darwin. How Charles Darwin is his contribution to the world. His popular book is The Origin of Species, was published in 1859, particularly in Victorian period. We can understand how great it is. Another important writer, Alfred Lord Dennison. He is known for his best melodious language, particularly from this period. So at the same time, we have another important writer, the translator from this period, Edward Fitzgerald. What he has translated? He has translated the Rudyant of Omar Khayyam, the Omar Khayyam's poems from Persian. That is the translation work of Fitzgerald. We have Gaskell is also from this period. We have William Makepeace Thackeray also from this period. Charles Dickinson is also from this period. So we know how popular Charles Dickinson, his writings, how he reflected great works of Charles Dickinson. Robert Browning, he is known for his dramatic monologue. Charles Bronte, Emily Bronte are also from this period. We have another important thinker, social activist, philosopher, and the great influential person of modern society is none other than Karl Marx. So he has written Das Kapital from this period that was published in 1867. Karl Marx also comes under this period. We have another important writer, George Eliot, Herman Melville, Gustav Flaubert, Matthew Arnold, Mark Twain, Thomas Hardy, Henry James, Friedrich Nietzsche philosopher, Oscar Wilde, Bernard Shaw dramatist, George Robert Gissing, Kenneth Graham, Rudyard Kipling. They're all from this particular period. So many number of writers produced different forms of literature, particularly novels. So we can see, you could sense the hundreds of novels came from this particular period. So they have contributed a lot to the Victorian period. So what these are all works talks about, what are the elements or subjects they found or we could sense from this particular period, what are the features. So Victorian literature particularly, it shifts from romantic utopianism to utilitarianism, from the romantic imagination to reality, from the romantic common man to middle class. This particular literature has brought. That is the first literary feature we could sense. Another important point, Victorian attitude to nature is also changes. To the Romantics was a kind of harmonious. To the Victorians, it is harsh and cruel. That is we have to identify. Poetry and morality became the controlling principles creative works. It encourages compromise and construction from this period. In the early part of this literature chooses art for life's sake, early part, and as the principal art and assets didactic purpose. The mass of writing, this age reflects highly idealized notion of proper behavior. That is also another literary feature from this particular period. And at the same time, the dualism of emotion, materialism and mysticism, religion and science, faith and doubt, freedom and restriction is very common in the literature of this particular period. Poets, novelists, essayists of this age emphasize truth, justice, brotherhood, peace and stability. And at the same time, dramatic monologue and elegy are popular poetic forms of this age. And at the same time, isolation, loss of faith, disappear, emancipation of women are common themes of the poem. Classical myths are retold as a poems. And there are other many literary elements we can sense from this particular feature. So Victorian is known for novel. Victorian literary period is known for novel. The novel becomes dominating literary form in the Victorian period. That is what we have to understand. A typical Victorian novel has a long and complicated plot, an omniscient narrator whose comments on wrong and right serve moral purpose. It has a setting in a known city, a child protagonist, social and humanitarian themes, deeper character analysis, irony in the description and justification of all events in the final chapter. Its common subjects are exploitation of women and children, terrible living conditions, industrial civilization, lost identity, etc. A good number of novels written by women raise the feminist issues, particularly from this period. That is what Victorian. And at the same time, toward the end of this period, most of these features of the Victorian age gradually disappear. That is also we have to identify. A new movement known as Age of Decadence, as the decadence started in the end of this period. It brings art for art's sake. It emphasizes sensitization, egocentricity, the bizarre, the artificial, etc. In literature, Swinburne, Dowson, Potter, Morris and Rossetti are the writers of this particular group. Thank you. Thank you very much.